Hello everyone, and welcome back to Victoria 3 in a new Ironman. Today we're going to be navigating the world as Imperial Russia. And just to get things started, we are going to go to the ever-important government and just take a look here. Gentry Assembly 49.7 is very, very high. Your starting influence can actually vary, depending on your military leaders, things like that, and just the personalities of different politicians. So we have a very strong Gentry Assembly that's going to be something we have to weaken. And the reason for this, it looks like, are, among other things, 2 field marshals giving plus 20% each to the Gentry Assembly. So we're going to have to retire them forcibly, which will cost us a little bit. Let's go ahead and start working on dedicated police force. But we also do need to remember now to exit that and to kind of fiddle around with who we're suppressing and who we're allowing to go. Of course, yeah, it's probably best to get everything else settled with authority first. So let's go ahead and go for services tax. Very nice. And then we can bolster the industrialists, we can bolster the rural folk as well. We're currently angry, which is never a good thing, have a bunch of angry farmers. And then for research, I'm going to buck the usual trend of starting with lathe, because I think we will get passive gain on that if I go for something else. And we're going to go for central archives, because our bureaucratic shortfalls will be the stuff of legends. And we'll see that as the game gets unpaused though, so let's just get this all set first. Let's go for sweeteners, let's go for... no, let's get luxury wood production. That seems fine. And then we can't go to gas streetlights quite yet, we don't have enough coal for it, even though it is definitely a very tempting thing to do. And we can also be able to go to fishing trawlers, which should be fine. So, nothing is under construction, we're going to fix that. We're going to start off with a kind of greedy 3 construction centers. I think it should be fine, but we'll have to make sure that we follow up immediately thereafter with just as many tooling workshops, and we might also need some iron before we get into other things, but it'll get us going a little bit quickly, I think, and that'll be very nice. So, no diplomatic plays off the bat because we're going to ask Austria. Ooh, no alliance. Not even with an obligation. What the heck? Cautious attitude? Interesting. Well, normally I would go for Austria, but it looks like Prussia is the only one that would accept right now, so we're going to ally the Prussians as the Russians, and then hope that that doesn't end really, really poorly, and wait for that to come back. So, let's unpause. We have to wait to make sure that the Prussians say okay, and they did, and now that that's happened, we can go in and do our first diplomatic play, which of course will be to make a puppet out of Persia. Now, I don't think people will mobilize against us for this. We do need to take a quick look at our generals just to see who we want down there. Not a lot of good generals this time. Pavel Graba. Okay, experienced artillery commander, that does give an attack bonus, so we want that. It's all very nice. And then let's get... I want enough to intimidate them, so we will mobilize here as well. We can mobilize somebody else should it go a little bit long. A little bit preemptive, but I want to discourage people from joining, particularly the Ottoman Empire, who really, really hate us and are leaning Persia. So my hope is that we don't have to deal with them, but I've never actually seen Persia go into the war if they're unsupported. It's only if the Ottomans support them that you really have to worry about that. So, well, fingers crossed it doesn't end up too horribly. And then, because we do have still 100 legitimacy, we can come in here, increase our taxes just a little bit. We'll make people like us less, but we still have 100 legitimacy because of our form of government, which is an autocracy, giving plus 120 legitimacy base. So, one of those nice things about being one of the most repressive regimes on the face of the planet is, well, you can tax people and you don't care if they whine about it, I guess. Some might not see that as a benefit necessarily, but for us right now, it definitely is. You can see we will have to be careful about our iron consumption as well, and we do need the better services because, well, they're expensive, and we don't want that. We want everything to be cheap to lead people to have a higher and much better standard of living. Push to enact landed voting. That's interesting. Sometimes dissidents pick on very weird things at the beginning of the game. It doesn't quite make very much sense. But that one is not something I mind, because we're going to be going toward landed voting anyway. So I mean, I guess why not? And these guys are not intimidated yet. We don't have a huge advantage on the front line there. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to wait until it gets just a bit farther, and then we're going to mobilize full 90,000 men. Better to have them mobilized for a little bit than it is to have to actually fight this war. It will be a little bit of a cost, but hopefully once they see these numbers, they'll think to themselves, okay, yeah, no, we're out. Goodbye. That's the intention anyway. One other thing. Colonies in the Kazakhs is very nice, and then you might have noticed I haven't incorporated states here. That's because I tend to not do the dedicated police force off the bat, and if you do that, you're going to burn through your bureaucracy like nothing you did ever believe. So we're going to wait and have to incorporate a little bit later. It does mean that we won't get the tax income spike that we otherwise would by incorporating those territories, but it also means we won't have a tax income collapse as soon as we pass new institutions. So we'll have to get a little bit more stable before we start incorporating states, but I don't think it'll be the worst thing ever. We do have dedicated police forces, and that means we can now go toward other stuff. Particularly, let's take a look here, and we'll have to reform. Ooh, this is a very weak rural folk, very weak everything. 54.3. You know what? They're happy. They're loyal. We need to weaken them. So let's go ahead and retire forcibly Mikhail Vorontsov. So -6 interest group approval. That's fine. And then we'll go into our reserve battalions here and hopefully hire someone else. Not really what I wanted, but you at least are an offensive planner, so we'll go with that. Is there someone better? No. So this guy is the guy we just hired. We're going to promote him up the line and make him a field marshal. And this will be a pretty decent swing toward the armed forces. Not necessarily the group that I would have chosen us to swing to. And we do actually have a countdown to war here as well. So Persia not backing down quite yet, but there it is. Awesome. So we do have to change our map mode to get it to refresh. We do have Persia now as a puppet right off the bat, and they will be paying us that 7.6 thousand in weekly income from diplomatic pacts. So that's very nice. It also does give us access to opium in a couple of states like Mazarandan and I think Khorasan as well. Maybe Laristan? No. Yes, there should be one more down here, and that would be Fars with opium. So eventually we want to take these guys for ourselves, but not quite yet, and let's go ahead and get some of our government administration buildings on the way in Umbria, which should help us balance out the cost from that new institution. My worry... Oh, don't mind the sirens, they're not coming from me, I promise. My worry is that we won't be able to get enough support behind serfdom to make it worthwhile. Any single interest group is not going to be great there, and we don't even have great support for agrarianism yet. So our industrialists will be gaining strength a little bit, armed forces a little bit. How else can I weaken these guys right now? Oh geez, that siren. Okay, well, that should be taken care of. Hereditary bureaucrats, peasant levies, serfdom. I wonder if we could get to professional army. I think you have to not have serfdom to get that. But armed forces do support it, so we can take a look at least. And do the armed forces support... No, they don't. Okay, well, let's take a look then. Let's go ahead and move our armed forces in here. A little bit of a drop, not quite a legitimate government anymore, but we can try for a professional army, and that will weaken the gentry a little bit. Actually, quite a lot. 25% is nothing to be scoffed at. I think that'll help us. We just need to weaken them a bit more before we can get rid of serfdom once and for all. It's not like it's hurting our economy quite yet, though. I mean, we have a lot to do either way. Okay, let's get rid of this trade route. It's unproductive, and we really have no need right now, I'd say, to start importing things. What are these for? Purchase for slaves. Interesting. Population consumption 252. So Persians, I think, might be addicted to opium. Let's take a look at that. Cultures, and where are they? I guess they're not formally in our nation. Let's see. Oh, I don't see them. Population. Oh, come on. It's interesting, it's telling us they need the goods, but they're not then... Oh, it's fine. Persia can create their own opium facilities to match that out. Should be quite alright. Okay. So far, so not dead yet, but we're going to have to work on modernization in a couple different ways, hopefully at the same time. We also have quite a fair bit of infamy. So we started up at 46, we're getting the additional plus 25% from diplomatic mitigation, which is exactly what I wanted, and that's going to be, what is that? About negative 6.25 a year. That's not terrible. So we are going to let that tick down a little bit. If you're going after other things in the Middle East, it is nice to have a second front, which means that you want to be able to attack after you've consolidated the Kazakhs. So we do have a bit of time there before we have a second front with Khiva or Bukhara or Kokand. And usually the reason for that is that it prevents them from putting... Some of these places only have one army, and preventing them from getting that where they want it to be can often be a very nice thing. So Gentry Assembly approval is only a +1. I would like to kick out Chernyshov as well, but I don't think I can manage that right now without pissing off the Gentry Assembly enough that they leave government, which, considering we are the Gentry Assembly, would leave us basically with 0 government legitimacy. It's not exactly where you want to be. It's really not a great place. So let's see what else we can do here. Very little. I mean, our GDP is going to crawl upward until we really start to get better industrial methods, and government administrations won't help that. So I think part of this increase... Well, no, I mean, Persia's economy, 6.13 million, is still separate from ours. 4.61 million, rather. Hey, look at that. When they became our puppet, things improved, because we started adding to their market. Interesting. Okay, so other priorities. We want the church in government, and we want to get a health system, but I don't think we can do schools until we've gotten rid of serfdom. So we do want charity hospitals, and we can do that next. I just want to start weakening the gentry if I can. So if this fails and we drive the chances to the ground, we're going to switch over and get the church in government and go for that. It will be it's a strategy that does cause a fair number of radicals, because we're going to be kicking people in and out. But I don't know. I don't think we'll have a revolution from it, so we should be fine. For at least a little bit anyway. If things keep not going our way, it is going to be trouble, and it looks like the armed forces are now struggling a little bit with their clout. Yeah, it's gone back down. Ooh, gold in Alyaska. That's not bad. Let's go to resources. No gold fields buildable? Really? So if we take a look at Alaska proper... Yeah, okay. Unable to fully hire. It's not bad though. 21 a year. That's pretty bad. The number 3 most productive goldfield in the world. Negative 2% compared to average? Oh, okay. Okay. So the best goldfield is just way more lucrative than ours. Unfortunate. But still the truth regardless. If we take a look at our journal, we do need path to liberalism, but we don't have census or universal suffrage. And none of our political groups have the required ideologies. So that's going to take a little bit of time. I just want us to get up to positive bureaucracy, though. That way we can start integrating some states while we wait for additional... Ooh, patronized romanticism. Good. Let's take the progress toward realism. Any research boost you can get as Russia is, well, absolutely critical. So I think that should be our next step. I mean, early game Russia is a lot of low probability events that you have to sort of just wait until they start cascading, right? So anything you can do to weaken the gentry inch by inch, it takes a while, it really does. If you're doing a multiplayer, Russia is a slower start than your opponents might believe at first, so hopefully they see this and they then believe it. I mean, France is way more powerful, and a French player could easily take on the Russians, probably in the first 20 years, and really have nothing to worry about. Hardly at all, anyway. So, we will get rid of 50% increase from serfdom once that's gone, but we have to be able to get it first. Tsar intervenes in the political process. That's pretty nice, we'll do that. And let's encourage our intelligentsia by allowing secret societies. 1 in 4 chance of getting professional army on the next tick, and that at least is better than I was afraid of. I have been getting a cascade of bad events recently, so that's not exactly confident. We do need more iron, we do need more tools. These will consume some tools, and of course the new tooling workshops then consume iron. So let's get one more building in Saratov, and then we can schedule one behind the government administration buildings there. But we're very nearly up to at least non-negative, so we'll soon lose that last 1.5% tax waste. But look at how quickly that builds. I mean, negative 36 is 1.5% tax waste. That's huge. That's a lot. I've ended up at negative 500 bureaucracy before, and it's borderline catastrophic. You can go into such low amounts of money. It's ridiculous. But, you know, a little bit of patience can go a long way for that. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, so we're slowly getting rid of the decrease their loyalty from firing one of their men, and I think, unfortunately, that is going to be it for us today. So, thank you all for hanging around. I hope you guys like the new Ironman campaign and sort of see it as a testing ground so that you don't make the same mistakes yourselves. If you do like this sort of thing and want me to do more, well, it's YouTube, you know the deal. Like, share, subscribe, or, well, we won't be able to go on for as long as I would like to before switching to a different campaign. So, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.